Hi Floss Tube, this is Heather, the 20-minute stitcher. I am back from StitchCon and honestly hadn't originally planned to film a floss tube today, but I want to be able to put everything away. So don't want to have to get it back out. So I am here somewhat unexpectedly for floss tube episode number 43. Thank you for joining me. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. For those of you I got to see at StitchCon, it was so wonderful to see you. If you learned about me at StitchCon, but I didn't get a chance to meet you, thank you for stopping by. I hope you'll like what you'll see. So I am going to do my StitchCon recap in two different videos. Boy, now that I'm speaking, I feel like my voice sounds hoarse. Probably from all the talking at StitchCon. So this is going to be a more traditional floss tube video. It just is going to be my stitching. And it's just going to be pretty much all the stitching I did at StitchCon. Plus, I think only just one project that I worked on in the last 2 weeks that I did not bring to StitchCon. So this will be more of a traditional floss tube video for me. It just will be what I worked on at StitchCon. And then I will film a separate video that will be more of the what did I get at StitchCon, what were my acquisitions, what were the gifts that I was given, things of that sort. So let's go ahead and just hop right in to my sort of traditional floss tube video. I always start with new starts when I have one. So you're going to get a little bit of a sneak peek at some of my StitchCon acquisitions, because one of my new start was my version, I guess, of the Pam's Survival Sal, which if you watch Just Keep Stitching with Pam and Stuff, you know about this. Pam is celebrating 30 years since her breast cancer diagnosis, or since beating breast cancer. So she decided to start a sal because so many of us have been touched by cancer in our lives, either personally, like myself, or someone we know and care about. And so the pattern that Pam chose is Simple Gifts Courage by Praiseworthy Stitches. And so this is the pattern here. And I actually happened to get this for free at StitchCon. I was going to purchase it there, but one of my friends who was bringing patterns for the freebie table that they weren't going to stitch, or perhaps they'd already stitched, let a group of us kind of look through the patterns first before she put them on the table. And this happened to be in there, so I snatched this bad boy up. So that was wonderful, especially because, as you will see in a moment, I decided to really kit this up very specially. I don't know if that's proper English. Words are hard right now. But I did kit this up at StitchCon and start it. So I had this silk, what is this? The Thread Gatherer Silk and Colors floss. I received it in a mystery box well over a year ago, and it's gorgeous. I'm hoping the color is kind of picking up properly. It's a gorgeous light pink, and so I thought, well, I would love to use this in this pattern because I don't know what else I'll use it in. But the pattern calls for 2 skeins of the light pink and 9 of the darker pink if you're doing it in the breast cancer colors, which as a breast cancer survivor, I am. In the annex at StitchCon, so see, I told you, you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek of my StitchCon acquisitions as well. One of the flosses they had this year was Almond Mnms, which I have heard other floss tubers absolutely rave about, not only the colors, but just the joy of stitching with this silk, how smooth and how free gliding it is in your fabric. I mean, all silks are very free gliding, but these are like, people would talk about how these are especially so. And I can say now, having stitched with them, this could be the beginning of a dangerous obsession. So I picked up another light pink called Rose. It's a pretty close match to the one that I brought with me. So I'll mix those two together for the light pink. And then I picked up my skeins. This is actually called Scarlet, but it's a beautiful, kind of reddish pink, darker color. So I picked up the skeins of those, which I also got fabric. So that pretty much blew through all my money that I brought with me to buy things at StitchCon. but I picked up, I was lazy and didn't want to get it cut, so I actually bought the full quarter yard, or fat quarter, I mean. This is Under the Sea Fabrics. I'm pretty sure that is Gaelic, and I have no idea how it's pronounced. It is A with an accent over it, I-N-E. If you know, that might be Welsh or Gaelic, would be my guess. A with an accent, I-N-E. I am not even going to attempt to pronounce it, but it is a beautiful muted pink. And you can see this is my start on the pattern. So I started in the upper left corner and just started working my way across and started working a little bit on the motif, the first motif there at the top. I only stitched on this for about an hour on Saturday night just to get the start in. And I am in love with this fabric. This pattern also is stitching fairly quickly so far, which is lovely. And you can get a sneak peek now at one of the freebies I was given by the lovely ladies of Two Needles Pulling Thread. They live in Maine, and they were giving out these needle minders. So that is my StitchCon new start. Praiseworthy Stitches, Simple Gifts, Courage. And it is in my other StitchCon acquisition, a new project bag by Black Cat Cross Stitchery. And I also got some new size 28 needles, which are my favorites to use. I just don't always love threading them, but love stitching with them. So that was my new start and a sneak peek at some of my StitchCon acquisitions. Between the project bag, the fabric, and the flosses, it was pretty much all the money I brought with me to StitchCon, though I did still purchase a few other things. So definitely check out that video to see more. Then I was feeling very moody when I was packing for StitchCon. Sorry, I'm looking at my pile of patterns over here, or projects, I mean, and couldn't decide what I thought I would want to stitch on. So I ended up bringing, I think, 10 or 11 projects to StitchCon with me, which was kind of bonkers. And then decided if I brought all them with me, they all were going to get love at StitchCon. So Saturday, I actually used my Tiny Decisions app and had it spin the wheel so that I was working on all of my projects. So I do have a lot to show. The progress is not necessarily a lot on all of them, but they all got some love at StitchCon. So I actually have quite a lot of stitching to show today. I did have 2 finishes at StitchCon, one on Thursday evening and one on Friday evening. So we're going to do them a little out of order just because of the way they're stacked here. So my Friday evening finish was Sea Otter by Bad Stitch. And I will pop up, I actually took pictures of all of my projects before StitchCon started. So I will pop the picture up of where this was before I went to StitchCon. And here is the finish. So this was part of the Earth Day pattern series by the Stitchers Collective. And he is so adorable. Like, I am probably going to get him framed and on my wall ASAP because I am in love with this little pattern. I could definitely see myself stitching this one again. He's just so stinking cute. I just want to boop his little nose. So that was my second StitchCon finish. And that is Sea Otter by Bad Stitch. So these patterns were only available for a limited time, though I would imagine the designers will release them eventually. So if you like this pattern, keep an eye on Bad Stitch's website or Patreon, and I'm sure that they will release it at some point. The next finish I had is one that I had been working on for a long time and kind of put it away for a little bit, and then decided, you know what, I am so close to a finish and I have other patterns in this series that I want to stitch. This is Happy Fall, Y'all by Sweet Wing Studio. And it was part of the Autumn Garden palette from last fall or last summer, fall. I love it. So if you recall, this was, the name of the group is, Xstitch the Rainbow is the name of the group of designers that came together. And they choose a floss dyer that dyes them a special 4 skein palette of colors, and then all of the designers participating design a 60 by 60 or smaller pattern using only those floss colors. So for this series, the Autumn Garden palette, the flosses were dyed by Cottage Garden Threads out in Australia, and this was the design that Sweet Wing Studio created for this initiative, and I absolutely love it. So this will also hopefully be FFO'd before too long. So that was actually my first StitchCon finish. And let me get show you the threads. I mean, you can obviously see in the pattern, but the threads are gorgeous as well. And so these are the threads. If you've never stitched with Cottage Garden threads, one of the things I absolutely love about them is they come, you know, twisted and folded up on this, but this is also a floss drop. So you literally just hold on to the top and you pull out the thread you want to use. And it's just so clever. And their threads, they're cottons, but they are beautiful. The dye is beautiful. They're lovely to stitch with. They don't really tangle. Really, really enjoyed. So I'm going to pick out, I'm going to be starting soon. Like I said, I purchased 4 or 5 of the patterns in this series, maybe even more. And so I'm going to pick out another one and get started on that one here probably very, very soon. Very soon. And I think one of the really neat things is Susan, the designer behind Sweet Wing Studio, happened to be at Weekend B of StitchCon. And so I got to meet her. I got to get a picture of her with my finish. I will pop that up on the screen. Lovely, lovely person, lovely human being. And so yeah, it was really neat to get to meet and let her see her beautiful stitching, or her beautiful pattern stitched up. Sorry, I have too much stuff out still, so I'm trying to figure out where to put everything. So those were my 2 finishes. Now I had one pattern that I did not take to StitchCon with me, in part because it requires a little too much attention, and in part because I was working on it before I went to StitchCon. I made a mistake that I couldn't really figure out how to fudge, and so this pattern got to go on vacation and did not get to go to StitchCon with me. It was in timeout, and that is Halloween Quaker. This is one of my June Whip Go calls, and I honestly don't think I have a picture of where I was the last time I worked on it. If I do, I will pop it up on the screen, but I don't think that I do. But honestly, I think everything that I had added since that last time was what I ended up having to rip out. And please excuse the mess. It's not in the hoop, but still in the hoop. So it's going to be a little bit challenging to show here. But this is where I am on Halloween Quaker. I am stitching this completely as called for on the 40 count Murky. And I had started on the witch's boots that go right here. I don't know if you can see. You can see a little bit of the shadow of the floss that I pulled out. And I literally had them almost done and discovered that I had made about 3 different counting and placement errors. And that was why. So one of the errors I had noticed already and was just like, you know what, I'm just going to fudge it. But then when I noticed the second and third, I thought to myself, it's going to make other motifs get off, and then I might end up where it's not, like, you know, the corners are not aligned with each other. And so I just took them out. And but today is June 19th, and my goal is 1,000 stitches on this in June for Whip Go. And I still have about, I don't know, 750, 80 to go, 800 to go. So it won't be on vacation for much longer. That is true. So that is Halloween Quaker. That did not go to StitchCon with me for, oops, forgot to put the floss back in, for a couple of different reasons. All right. Continuing on with my other whips, these all did go to StitchCon with me. These all got worked on for at least a little bit. Some of them I only put maybe 100, 150 stitches in them. So we'll go through them pretty quickly. So the first was originally intended to be my pattern or my stitch for the smalls exchange. and I kind of just lost my steam on it and ended up not finishing it, not participating in the Smalls Exchange this year at StitchCon, which is fine. So now I guess I'm stitching it just for me, which it was one of the freebies from StitchCon last year. So I suppose it'll be a nice memory souvenir for myself about, of my first StitchCon experience in 2022. So this is Circle of Friends by, hold on, I always get backwards who it's by. Heart and Hand. Yes, by Cecilia Turner, Heart and Hand. So here is where I was when StitchCon started, and here is where I am now. So I'm really actually almost done. So I just have this little heart to finish, the word friends, the rest of the border here, and then down this side it says StitchCon 22, or 2022. Might just say, yeah, 2022 I think it says. So that's all that's left. So this is also pretty close to a finish. I think if I had probably just continued to stitch on this, I could have had a third finish at StitchCon, but like I said, I really wanted to be sure that everyone who got to make the trip to StitchCon got some love at StitchCon. So that was Circle of Friends and the progress I made on that. Next is Chubby Bunny by Jeanette Douglas Design. And here is a picture of the pattern. This was one of her market releases. And I am stitching this on just a rose Aida. And pardon all of the threads. I'm kind of at the point where it's, a stitch here, a stitch there of one color, one little group of stitches of a color, and I'm kind of trying to avoid like cutting and tying off the thread a million times. So there will be several hanging threads here. Please just bear with me. So here's the picture of where I was at the start of StitchCon. And then this is what needle minder's too heavy. This is what I got done while I was at StitchCon. So this was a Saturday where I was using my decision wheel. And so what I was doing was, for anything that was a digital pattern, I was stitching, like I said, between 100 and 150 stitches. For anything that was paper pattern like this, I set a timer for an hour, and I worked on it for an hour. So got a little bit closer. I got the butterfly stitched. They're not really picking up very closely, but there are little sort of light stitches at the end of each of these flowers, and this yellow flower up here I got started. So and then some of the white into the bunny. That is what I got done on Chubby Bunny at StitchCon. All right, then, and I'm not showing these in the order I stitched them either. So I'm saying the next, but it wasn't necessarily literally the next. But the next one I worked on was my Dragons and Apples Sal. So you all have not seen this, I think, since I started it, because I hadn't worked on it since I started it. This is by Quaternion Creations. It was a stitch along that she had created. If you have watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love dragons. My pendant that I wear all the time is a dragon. I was born in the year of the dragon. I love dragons. So when I learned of this stitch along, I had to do it, but I have not really worked on it. It is now complete. So that's awesome. So now I'm even more motivated to work on it, because I don't know why, because it's not like I ever catch up on stitch alongs. And I just realized I have not been sharing anything of like what I'm stitching my projects on. If there's any project that you're interested in, the floss or the fabric, please let me know of the ones that I've already shown, and I will try to be better moving forward through the rest of these projects to tell you what I'm stitching on. So this is Dragons and Apples Sal by Quaternion Creations. I am stitching this with a dinky dye conversion of my own. So the pattern calls for DMC 310, 413, and 606. And I chose dinky dyes because I had never stitched with dinky dyes before and wanted to. So, and I added a fourth color because I fell in love with this floss. Oh, that's right. It got a weird knot in it at StitchCon that I have to figure out. Anyway, I fell in love with this floss, which I'm not sure if one skein is going to pick up the color variation. But it is a black, gray, purple, variegated silk floss by Dinky Dye. And so I chose to purchased this for the border of the project, or borders of the project. And then I chose Desert Pea for the red, the 606 conversion. Distant Thunder for the gray, the, what did I say, 413, I think, for the gray conversion, and Black Coral for the 310 conversion. And last I showed this to you, I literally had, here's the photo, just like a tiny, very sad little start on the top border. And I didn't get a whole lot further into it. I am stitching this on a 32 count Lugana in the color Portobello by Bestitch Me. And I did finish almost all of the border for the top box, the first part of the stitch along. I am probably going to, so the first, like many stitch alongs, the border was released first and then the blocks were filled in. Since the whole thing's out now, I'm probably going to go block by block, do the border and the interior, and then move on to the next. So I have this first block border almost done. This first block is the clutch of eggs that our little dragon was born out of. So if I can, I don't know if I've downloaded the final picture yet, but I will find it. I will put it up here. This is the final completed pattern. It is stunning. It is gorgeous. And you can see it sort of tells the story of this little dragon. So I had never heard of this designer before Pixel Pixie Stitch, Christy, shared this stitch along on their Instagram. So she completely enabled me to start this. And I will tell you, her designs are stunning. She's an Estonian designer. In fact, the next pattern I have to show you is another one of hers that I am working on. Again, Quaternion Creations. Her name will be in the description below if you are, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. If you are not familiar with her, I really encourage you to check her out. So that was Dragons and Apples, Sal. As I mentioned, my next piece is also by her. This is another one of the Earth Day patterns from the Stitchers Collective. This is Gaia. I'll put the photo up of the pattern, the finished pattern, and then I'll put the photo up of where I was at the beginning of StitchCon. I am stitching this on 32 count Lugana, again, by Bestitch Me in the color Water Nymph. And I am using the sulky thread in, I think it's called Peacock Blue or Peacock Sky. Is the name on here? No, that would be too easy. No, the name of the color is not on here, but it is color 4016 is the number of the color. And sulky thread. It's my first time stitching with sulky thread. I really like it. And here is what I added to it at StitchCon. So I finished the bottom of the globe here. I finished South America, stitched Africa and the bottom of Europe there, and started on kind of her arm here that is holding it. So this is, I'm stitching this not completely as called for because I am using, I think the model was stitched on just a white Aida, but the floss I fell in love with. I loved the pattern, but loved the pattern in the floss that the model was stitched in. And so I am copying it to that extent. So that is Gaia by Quaternion Creations. And this is a little froggy needle minder that I got at StitchCon last year in 2022. All right, moving right along. Next one I worked on was Cozy Christmas Cat by the Blue Flower. I'll put a picture of the pattern up here. And I will put up the photo of where I was at the start of StitchCon. I started this in March as part of Bridgen's birthday bash. Sal, Bridgen the museum stitcher, she invited people to pick any pattern that had a bee in it. So either the pattern name, the pattern itself, or the designer. So I forgot I had a printout of the pattern too. So this is Cozy Christmas Cat by the Blue Flower. And I had a teeny tiny pathetic little start, as you saw, that I'd stitched in March. Actually, I started mine the day before Bridgen's birthday. I don't remember why. I had a work event or something going on and knew I wasn't going to get to stitch actually on her birthday. So at StitchCon, again, I worked on it for about 100 stitches. I finished, my fabric is very wrinkly, sorry. I finished his sweater and stitched the snowman's body and the little puffball at the end of his little Santa hat. So again, not a ton of new progress, but some good progress. I am stitching this. So this is also a Stitch Your Stash project. For the most part, I'm trying to stitch from my stash as much as possible this year. So I did do my own conversion from the called for floss. And yeah, I am stitching this on, again, a 32 count Joblin from Bestitch Me. This is the color Hot Cocoa, is the color of this fabric, which is getting washed out a little by my ring light here. But the green that I am using is a Fangirl Fibers silk floss called Endor. It was from her Ewoks box this spring. The white of the snowman is just DMC white. I think that's the only color I didn't convert. All right, 3 more. We're almost there, people. Thank you for bearing with me. The next pattern I worked on was Lizzie Kate Fall Crazy. I am stitching this pattern here, the In All Things Give Thanks. This pattern is from 2007. I think I have owned it since almost that long ago, and finally decided last year that I was going to start stitching it. This is another one that I thought maybe I would have finished, and if I had sort of abandoned and ignored other patterns, I probably could have finished it. So this is the photo of this is the photo of where it was at the start of StitchCon, and here is where I stopped. So you can see I finished the pumpkin. I had just some of the black outline to do and the rest of the border, so I finished that. I stitched most of the words, so I just have to finish the word give and then stitch the word thanks. And I came over here, I started the border, started the background for the autumn leaves that are over here. So this one is also quite close to a finish. So I will probably pick this up again in July or August, and with the intention of finishing it in time to FFO it for the autumn season or for Thanksgiving. So that is Lizzie Kate. I'm calling it In All Things Give Thanks, but the pattern booklet is called Fall Crazy. And then the next one, I mentioned that Fangirl Fibers Ewoks box. This is the pattern that came in it. There's, oh no, there is a finished, sorry, I forgot. Here's the photo of the finished product. This is Cute But Dangerous by Kix Stitches. And I am stitching this on the fabric that came in the Ewok box. I did not write the name of it down, unfortunately, but it's a lovely neutral. Here is the picture of where I was when I last stitched on it before StitchCon. I stitched on this in the late night room, which I normally don't visit because I am not a late night stitcher. But this year at Weekend B, due to a bit of a snafu with the hotel that the late night room is usually in, the late night room was actually moved to the Hyatt, which is the hotel attached to the convention center where StitchCon takes place, and is the hotel that I was staying at. So I decided, why not? I'll pop down there for a little bit. I spent most of the time talking, didn't really stitch much. But I did finish I finished the C, I stitched the U. I think that's right. You'll know if I'm lying. And then I decided to start adding the back stitch on this Ewok here. So again, close to a finish. I just have to stitch this same Ewok over here. Oh, I put the needle minder over there. Basically where this needle minder is, there's a mirror image of this Ewok right here. And then backstitch them both. And this will be done as well. So I have so many that are so close to finishes. So yeah, that is Cute But Dangerous by Kix Stitches on Etsy. And last but certainly not least, the final, and this was the final project, I was working on this yesterday morning before we headed home, is Lola Crow Studios' Haunted Library. I mean, this Sal finished forever ago. Everyone's doing Greenhouse of Oddities now, which is also gorgeous and beautiful. Here's a photo of where Haunted Library was when I arrived at StitchCon. I don't think I need the board for this. And here is what I worked on. So not a ton of progress. This is another one of my June Whip Go goals. Sorry, I'm very close to my camera now. This is another one of my June Whip Go goals. So I still have about 650, 700 stitches left on this as well. So I will be doing a lot of stitching in the next 10 days or so. But I got some more of the little ghoulie guy added. I love her patterns They're so detailed and adorable. And yes, I said adorable. It's creepy, but it's adorable creepy, and I love it. So that is the last of my stitching at StitchCon. And this is on, again, a 32 count Lugana by Be Stitch Me. This is in the color It's a Mystery. And I'm using all the called for DMC. And this is 310, the Keepsakes Shop Cat. All right, that is all of my stitching for the last couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed and liked what you saw. Again, any questions about any of the patterns, drop them in the comments. Happy to answer them. If there's anything that you would like me to finish first, of the ones that are close to finishes, please don't say Haunted Library. I mean, I'm going to keep working on it, but of the ones that are close to a finish, if there's one you'd like to see finished first, let me know in the comments, because I'm feeling very motivated, right, after StitchCon, especially knowing that I have so many that are close to a finish. So let me know in the comments your vote for what I should work on, which of those ones that are close to finish I should work on next. If you're interested in seeing the patterns I purchased at Keepsakes or the Annex, some of the gifts and freebies, I won't go through all of them. There were so many. People are so generous and kind. But some of the gifts or freebies, I won a raffle prize, which was such a blessing. I won a pretty amazing raffle prize. I was given a lovely gift by Susan of Sweet Wing Studio. I will share all of those in a separate video. So if you are interested in those things, I will link that video at the bottom of this one. Please feel free to hop over and watch it. And as I close all of my videos, hug your loved ones, take care of yourselves, happy stitching, and I will see you again either in my StitchCon recap video or in a couple of weeks when I load my next usual floss tube. Take care. Talk to you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.